Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. We never do live streams on Saturday, but here we are. My name is Drew Boudreau, and I am so very happy to be joining you. I'm coming to you live from Southern California, where I'm hosting my summer intensive starting on Monday. And I am so happy to be sharing information about the University of the Arts, one of my all-time favorite schools. And so my guest today is Kikau, who is the head of, I want to get this right, the Ira Brand School of the Arts within UArts. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Woohoo!
Kikau, we made it. Yeah, Kikau Alvaro, he, him, and I am the dean of the Ira Brand School of Theater Arts, which is housed inside of University of the Arts. So totally right.
Oh, yay. All right. Pretty good. We got to hang out a fair amount at the International Thespian Festival in Bloomington, Indiana. And my assistant Autumn is a alumna of UArts. And so I got to learn so much about the school, and I'm so excited to share. So can you first tell me a little bit about how you got to UArts? What's your journey to get where you are now?
Gosh, it's been a fun little journey. I started here last year. I came immediately from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. And I had been there for 5 or 6 years and transitioned here in the fall of 21, initially as the head of, or the program director of musical theater. And then basically right before I was physically here in Philadelphia, I transitioned up to the dean position as an interim. It's an interim dean position. Possibly we'll go back, possibly we'll stay here. But yeah, so really lived here. I've been living here in Philadelphia since November of 21.
Awesome. And then what's your background as a performer and teacher?
Yeah, so this is great. I began as a performer. I really had hopes and visions and dreams of doing all the things, and realized that I am just at the heart a director and an educator. And I found myself in tech process, watching whoever I was working with set lights, and was like, I want to do that. That was part A. And then part B was getting through a rehearsal process, and then sort of realizing that what I want, that at some point we had to repeat the show again, right? You get to opening and it's like, oh wait,
Yeah.
we have to do this for 8 to 10 weeks. Like, just wasn't my thing. So really followed my heart and transitioned into directing exclusively. Went to San Diego State University through their MFA program in musical theater, one of two programs that are kind of like that, which led to teaching full-time, teaching and directing. In my previous institution, I also was able to be the associate artistic director of a regional theater called Virginia Repertory Theater. So my experience was both on the education side as well as in the professional regional theater side, which the position that I'm currently in now, it is happily married, right? Like,
Yeah.
I am producing the 20 plus productions we do at UArts, as well as overseeing the education and curriculum and
Yeah.
teachers and students and all of that as well.
Oh, that sounds so rewarding. I am so very happy and this much jealous too.
Yeah,
So
cool.
for the incoming students, for the undergraduate musical theater and acting students, it's a broad question, but what is their curriculum like?
Yeah, this is great. It's a really good question. It's actually a question that we've been with the changes in the industry, with the changes in academia entirely, we've been really rethinking, refocusing.
Yeah.
And I say that to start, but really it is built on, the curriculum is built on skills and the things that you'll need to do in order to do whatever it is you'd like to do when you graduate.
Yeah.
Most of our students do end up going to New York or trying to go for film or doing all the things that musical theater and acting
Yeah.
students go off to do. But we're
Yeah.
also aware that these skills are completely transferable to other
100%.
a million other things.
Yeah.
So for the MTs, it's 7.5 semesters of private vocal instruction. There's a progression in musical theater performance. Most schools call them, MTPs, musical theater performance in various levels. Progressions in dance, in ballet, in jazz and tap,
Okay.
non-Western dance.
Oh, cool.
Then it kind of veers into partnering and other things, musical theater auditioning skills. And the musical theater and acting students take their acting track together. So they're in
Oh,
the
cool.
same studios, kind of intermixed. And the acting side, of course, is a series of movement courses, mask courses, devising courses. And we have a strong emphasis on finding performance opportunities at UArts. Like I mentioned, we do 20 plus things. Like that is a number that even I asked my team, like, is that real? Like, that's really what we did? And they remind us, they remind me, yes, like, if you think about it, let me list out how we do that. And it's a combination of curated a curated season, as well as student directed opportunities, as well as the amazing Polyphone Festival for New and Emerging Musicals that we do
Wow.
towards the end of the semester.
Boy, that is so, I mean, just as a performer, you're in heaven. You have so many opportunities to perform on top of the curriculum that you're taking.
That's right.
Now you mentioned 7.5 semesters of private voice. Obviously my little spidey sense went off. Do you skip the first semester or the last semester?
Actually, it's typically the last semester, but students do opt in to another semester.
Oh, cool.
We're just saying, like, what's required of the curriculum is
Oh,
that
got it.
7.5. So
Awesome.
there is some wiggle room in there if someone feels like they need to take some time off
Yeah,
for
cool.
typically it's that last semester because folks are we're focusing on we're showcasing on a million other things, and
Yes,
some tend to not add that to their roster.
totally. Um, do you are freshman students in their fall semester eligible to be in department productions?
Yeah, so they could potentially audition for things that, like, sort of the student directed pieces in that first semester. We sort of encourage them not to, just
Yeah.
to take that first semester to, like, transition into moving into Philadelphia and to getting into college, into that college life. We do, however, like, we will be premiering this year what is lovingly called the first year event, but we were looking for a fun, snappy title for that in the coming weeks. But uh, we see the importance of featuring all of our first years in some sort of project that will, that celebrates and introduces them to the community. So
Yeah.
the MTs will be singing, individual songs.
Cool.
Actors will be demonstrating some things, and then we also have folks in our design technology and separate group directing, playwriting, and production that will be working on that event to sort of feature their work. So there is something that they are getting a sort of almost a first year or freshman showcase in that first semester. And then they're able to, as soon as they get there, audition for projects that are taking place in the spring.
I want to ask you about professional opportunities, and I bring this up because I had a student who was there for just a couple of years, and then she transferred to be closer to home. But while she was there, she said by the end of freshman year, I had the next calendar year booked up just from my dance teacher was choreographing some regional show in the summertime. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. So that is something it's really actually crazy to think about, because I don't think that I know a lot of other universities have a similar thing, but all of our faculty, adjuncts, full-time, everyone they're all working, like literally working teaching by day, heading off to their rehearsals, or there, we really are churning in this
Yes.
space of doing the thing and also teaching the thing. So I can't I could totally imagine that this is what happened to that person. Is they're like,
Yeah.
you're in my class, I'm hiring you, what are you doing this year?
Right.
So I'm sure that that absolutely happens. But we also have both like actual partnerships with theaters in our area, as well as um uh the not so, oh my gosh, what is word am I thinking of? Not so like thought out or official
Yeah.
and unofficial partnerships. Those are the
Oh
words
yeah.
I'm looking
Okay.
for. With the theaters in our area. So we have Walnut Street Theater, which is like the oldest theater, oldest
Yeah.
continuous running, which is amazing. They're producing, these big, huge musicals and, bring folks in. We have the Arden Street Theater Company, which they're really doing the experimental work and just kind of amazing things. Lots of our faculty members in their most recent production of Into the Woods this summer that was running, and students of ours that are being hired either in that company and
Yeah.
or hired as covers in that area. We have a strong partnership with the Wilma Theater Company, who's one of their artistic directors just received the Pulitzer Prize for drama for writing Fat Ham, and it's like we're
Oh
right
wow.
next door to them, so we there's some space conversations we have all the time. And then we have things like Enchantment Theater Company, which is like a touring puppetry children's theater or theater for young audience kind of space that students can be hired in like the second they graduate.
Wow.
So lots of opportunities. I could go
Wow.
on.
No kidding. No kidding, man. That's amazing. I was in a show a couple years ago, and the director, I found out later, taught dance at UArts, and just kind of, and that was my introduction to the fact that, like, oh, all of these faculty are working right now.
Right now.
There's no
Yeah.
one who used to do it 20 years ago who's like, back in the 80s.
Oh no. I think like we pride ourselves on it because when we're talking about a professional prep class or a business of theater
Yeah,
class, the professor you are with is literally in it right now as we speak, which is cool.
that's amazing. Master classes and guest directors. How often does, Audra just kind of saunter onto campus and be like, I'd like to teach a class?
Oh my gosh. Well, the funny that you say that. I know she worked in lots of different places, but just this last April, we had Kristen Chenoweth and Mary Mitchell
Uh-huh.
Campbell come
Oh,
in
no
and
way.
yeah, they came in and did a 3-4 hour workshop with students. And it coincided with Kristen performing right across the street at the Verizon Hall, the Kimmel Center, um,
Wow.
at a date that was postponed from the previous year. So there were lots of magical stars that
Right.
aligned to bring her here, but it was really fun saying into the microphone like, Emmy and Tony Award winner Kristen Chenoweth is now about to hear you sing. And she and Mary Mitchell could not have been more complimentary and amazing, incredible. So if they are in your town, book them because they're really great. But it's actually that is sort of evidence of the kind of caliber of artists that we're able to bring without any red tape at our school.
Yeah.
We are right in the middle of the city. We're so accessible to lots of folks that come through, and proximity is a part of it. Right across the street is that Kimmel Center. The major tours come through. Lin-Manuel was here for the first week of Freestyle Love Supreme. It's
Wow.
it's there's just sort of, it's all kind of connected, which
Right.
is a really cool, exciting thing for our students to even be able to go see as an audience member, right?
No kidding.
So yes, master classes for sure, directors. We have some faculty directors that work with us. We also, we're so close to New York City that we're able to bring some folks in from there. And students have an opportunity to work with a lot of different kinds of people.
That's so cool. Autumn was telling me that before Strange Loop debuted on Broadway, Michael R. Jackson was working on his shows at UArts, which like blew my mind.
Yeah. So it's a secret, not so secret program that we have, which is called the Polyphone Festival for New and Emerging
Yeah.
Musicals, and essentially it has its own artistic director, but they work directly with me and with the UArt students.
Wow.
So folks submit their brand new musicals and have a chance to work on them before they take a next step.
Yeah.
Um, they do have to have had to have had some sort of reading prior to coming here, and we put it up on its feet with our resources on our stage, and it has been like a really successful, exciting project. And we're bringing in artists like Michael R. Jackson, Dave Malloy,
Oh, wow.
folks and also folks you've never heard of ever,
Right.
who are just looking for that next step.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other programs are trying to, and they're doing their best to celebrate new work. But we have a system in place that is already churning out these opportunities for students, which I
That's
think is, in parentheses, one of the biggest sells. It's like, if you are a student of the theater and musical theater particularly, and want to be a part of new projects, you do need to know the traditional musical theater things, and but you also need to have the opportunity to open up a fresh piece of sheet music and sing it
yeah,
and
totally.
work on it. So it's cool.
Um, it's so funny because it was just like, wow, that the school just sounds better and better every time we talk. Now you mentioned like, hey, you're right across the street from the big house where the tours come through. What is the area where UArts is? What's that area like? What's it like on campus versus off campus?
Yeah, I love this question because I think it's like one of the biggest selling points. It is right in the middle of the city, and it is the university itself takes up several buildings that are on the main like avenue of the arts. And so to get from maybe one class to the next, you're either inside one building, or you're crossing by these like historical major theater spaces to get from one place to the next. But it is really right in the middle of the city. Um, uh, I always like to think of things like proximity to a Starbucks is 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Like, there are so many coffee shops. I live in Center City, which is where Philadelphia,
Yeah.
right in the middle of it. And so between my apartment and school, I hit 2 Starbucks, a La Colombe, a couple Dunkin' Donuts. I know that's the important stuff that people need to know.
Yeah. Yes. So when you are auditioning for MT, about how many students are in an incoming undergraduate class?
Yeah, this one's an interesting question, because I think that this number has and will evolve for lots of programs right
Yeah.
now. But this year we'll be welcoming 20 MTs into our program. And I think, if I'm gonna kind of guess, it's somewhere between 20 and 30. It is an ideal class size for us and the way
Yeah.
that we function, cohorts of 10 to 15, right?
Yeah.
Kind of moving through. And once again, I think that with COVID and all of these things, it's like those class sizes the last couple of years have been a little either very big or very small. And I think an average size for us would be about 25.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what's unique about a place like UArts or BOCO, which are, both accredited degree granting organizations, but are not a liberal, like a research institute.
Mhm.
If I want to minor in something, am I able to?
Yes, you are. This is a big one. It is we strongly encourage it.
Cool.
Sitting at that table in Indiana for a week, you sort
Yeah.
of get that elevator pitch, and I would see folks walking past, and you could tell like they're either interested, they want to like live in this city, they want to have this experience,
Yeah.
or they're like, nope, absolutely not. I want to also do these other things. But I just want to mention that it is a 4-year conservatory style program. It is
Right.
artists, in community with other artists. So
Yeah.
it is not the kind of thing where you're going to take musical theater and then get a minor in English. You're going to get a
Right.
minor in creative writing or screenwriting or
Right.
other creative practices. And you're going to run into other, filmmakers in the elevator, and you're going to kind of birth a new kind of art together. So it is worth mentioning. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's minors in animation, in dance, in film and media studies, and screenwriting, as I said. And there's kind of an amazing music business and technology minor that
That's great.
people are absolutely loving. And there's a major, but there's also a minor, and folks who come to us with an interest in writing their own music or making their own theater company or building their own record label. I mean, like, this is the right school for you to be able to do all of those things in one place.
I love it. I was telling someone on the airplane on the way over here. She was talking about, well, my daughter needs a backup plan, and I said, no, I don't like backup plans because you end up doing the backup plan. But
Mm.
really good money making skills between gigs, and I had mentioned music production and tech. It's
Yeah,
a great side hustle to have.
right,
So the fact that you can take classes in it while you're still in school, do it, do it,
right,
do it, do it.
right. I mean, because
Um,
we're seeing that, even as I was mentioning earlier about that
yeah,
evolution of artist, that we're no longer just staying in MT
yes,
lanes.
right.
You have to really open up. What is that? Concert production. I just saw Ellery Ward opening for Josh Groban last week at the Mann Center, who made Sondheim covers in her bedroom closet and recorded that album herself, and then now is like launched into this commercial
Yeah,
uh, pop space, recording
yeah,
space. But she's a musical theater person. It's like, how does that happen, right? So it's amazing.
I love it. If I do want to do study abroad, is it possible for me to do that at UArts?
Yeah, this is another program that's rebuilding. No one was really traveling anywhere. We had several prior to pandemic trips planned that we're just now taking. Like, students are getting on a plane next week to go to London for
Wow.
several weeks in what we'd consider like a short trip. But there are also study abroad options as well. So I will say that this is an area that I know will continue to build as we are reaching out into our international spaces.
Sure.
Uh, and we're open to continued partnerships. Our dance students, as an example, spend the entire summer in France.
Wow.
And so I know it's like amazing. I want to go there next year. And so, long story short, there are options, and if someone's interested in traveling, it is possible.
I love that. That's great. So, that's two things already. You can go to an arts conservatory, get a 4-year college degree and minor and study abroad.
Yep.
Checking all the boxes, man. I do want to talk about commitment to racial and gender and body inclusivity, because this is a changing landscape
Yeah.
professionally, and I'm happy that it is a changing landscape in college arts as well. So can you talk a little bit about that at UArts?
Oh my gosh, yes. This is a particular one that I can connect with, that I think our students can connect with. Uh, to come to UArts is no longer just about like wanting to perform. They're wanting to perform in something that means something.
Yeah.
And that's not, special to UArts, but that is something that we are seeing and that we are in conversation with. So when it comes to show selection, I use the word curated season. That curated season is some faculty, some staff, but a majority of students who get to sort of say, hey, these are the projects we want to work with. This is the kind of representation we want to see. This is what we want you all to focus on. And so that these conversations are had at every single level, from the audition and recruitment point to all the way through to what it looks like to showcase at the end of your time here, and what kind of artists or folks we want to bring to adjudicate or to work with you in your showcase experience. So just sort of drawing that line. We are have invited theatrical intimacy educators in to do special trainings with theatrical intimacy education. I always say educators, but TIE, to come and work with students. And in the fall, we're launching introducing a resident intimacy director here at UArts, who will work with each production and also will work with various studios to bring that work in. We're having conversations every single day about accessibility, how we can be more inclusive to people that are differently abled, and in a way that is like meaningful, not just like for show. Like it really is like, how can we actually make this better? How can I make this presentation better? How can we add sign language interpreters to this part of the conversation, and to make sure that everyone can be seen and heard? So it's, there's so many things in the terms like racial, gender, body inclusivity, but ultimately it's, I don't want to say we're perfect, but I do want to say we are making the kind of efforts that I'm hoping other schools are, making the kind of space for in our curriculum to make sure that these topics are covered and discussed in a way that folks leave our program and hold space for themselves, because we have been holding it for them here, and are demanding of that for and from the industry.
Wow, that is so cool. You go away for college for the first time, and it's your first time away from home. It's nice to know that you have that level of support from your faculty, which is really cool.
It's just, it to me, it's that thing that, like, I think there was a period of time where we went to robot land, and where we're just sort of pretending like these things don't happen, and that we're training these people, and you all have to wear this lipstick and have this laduca, and we're forgetting the fact that they are humans, like we are human beings, and like let's really have a conversation about mental health and about how the importance of having these conversations when receiving or getting critique on the work that you're doing, right? Like let's take that all the way back, and not just say, oh, this was good or bad, but let's talk about like whether or not you're interested in hearing that feedback today, which could be a different thing from the day before, right? So there's a real kind of energy in our spaces that are trying to really help this next group, this next generation into the industry.
That is really cool. This is, you're so vulnerable as an actor and as an artist, because it's your work on the line. And it's hard enough to also be 20 years old while you're doing it and be away from home. So to have all those factors playing into it, it's so nice to have faculty and departmental philosophy that really has your back. That's very cool.
Yeah, I would say the big thing right now is self-care. Like we're doing all these things, and then we're also like not stopping and breathing. Like I'm noticing this trend of like, oh my gosh, self-care. If I could give any advice to students that are prospective students or anyone going through this process, it's like, breathe, just breathe. Like, OMG, we want you to be you. We want you to be your best. And there's no, there's just, it's nothing's worth that level of stress, right? So
Absolutely not.
take
Absolutely
those walks, do those things that you need to do for yourself.
So if I do get in, can you give me a ballpark tuition, room and board idea?
Yeah, this is one of those things, like I actually have a little link on my own page because I just wasn't quite sure what it really was.
Yeah.
On our website, a full-time tuition for 22-23 is about
Yeah.
$50,000.
Okay.
And housing is about 11,000.
Okay.
There's other fees in there. The total estimated cost 72K to go
Okay.
to our school. And I will say we are the kind of institution that is 100% like you are going to get some help, merit based on your audition. So like that is something to kind of say up front. If you're auditioning for us, the number or score that you receive on that audition
Yeah.
sheet does play into the amount of help that you get, which is no secret. It's just sort of part of that conversation. It'd be similar to looking at your grades
Sure.
in maybe another institution. And most folks in their first year do live on campus, but we have several buildings that are options for them, and a lot of folks sort of in that second, third, and fourth semester or fourth year do take the option of moving off campus, so that's also part of it as well.
Okay, and just to be clear as well, so we have talent-based aid, but also UArts does participate in the FAFSA, so you fill out the FAFSA to get that need-based aid as well.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that 71,000 that we're talking about, that is sticker price. If you're Jeff Bezos and you tank your audition and you're worth $1 billion. So everyone's going to get something, and that price is going to come down for everyone.
That's right. That's just the starting point.
Great. Awesome. So what have we not talked about regarding UArts that you think we should know?
Gosh, I do say if you are thinking about coming to UArts and you are able to do so, to come and join us for a little tour of the spaces and of the city. I am seeing that when people are able to take that and really look about how close these things are, that they see this as a great alternative to either living in New York or another, or on the other end, a more rural kind of open space kind of program. And I would say that, our program is really built on the interests of the individual student, right? So I mentioned DPP, or directing, playwriting, production. Those students, they work all together with the performance students, acting and musical theater, and create their own work. They create work that has been done and once maybe needs a new fresh eye on it. I just feel like that is a pretty specific and special part of our program. So when you come and visit and you meet or talk to any of our students, you're gonna go, oh, okay, this all makes sense to me, and I'm coming to UArts.
That's awesome. Great. Kikau, thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
If you are watching this in the replay and you're like, oh, I actually have questions about UArts and about the program, you can go ahead and ask those in the chat here, and I will get those questions to Kikau. And we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to start sending in your application. Cool. Great. Thank you, Kikau, so much. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. This has been just an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the students and also hanging out with you again, playing this game again.
That's right.